Emily and Skelly here to explain seatbelt syndrome. And no shade to this comment whatsoever, this is not the first time that I've heard this comment. When people say they know somebody that got cut in half by the seatbelt, they don't really mean they got ripped in two. What they're usually referring to is a condition called seatbelt syndrome. Seatbelt syndrome happens when the lap portion of the seatbelt rides too high on a person's abdomen. When that lap belt is too high on the abdomen instead of down low on the hips, it catches the person by their soft internal organs that fill that space right here and their spine, which can lead to spinal fracture and serious internal organ injury. Here's a more descriptive list of the ways that internal organs can be damaged due to seatbelt syndrome. There are three main situations that can cause seatbelt syndrome. Number one, you guessed it, is kids coming out of booster seats too soon. A child who needs a booster and isn't using one is extremely vulnerable to seatbelt syndrome. That booster seat raises the child up to be closer to adult height and allow the lap portion of the seat belt to restrain the child by the strong bones of their pelvis and shoulder, instead of being grabbed by their soft internal organs and spine. It's also cool to know that these bony hip crests right here, those don't develop until puberty. So even a very tall pre-adolescent child doesn't have that full hip development yet. But if you look at a booster seat, turn it sideways and take a look at the shape of the armrest. It's made to mimic those bony hip crests to keep the lap belt down off the child's soft internal organs and spine. Pretty nifty science. The other two times we can see seatbelt syndrome happen are when the seatbelt is not being worn correctly. So maybe the person is buckling in and leaving the lap belt up on their abdomen instead of ensuring it's low on their hips, or maybe they're putting the shoulder belt behind their back. And if your child is putting the shoulder belt behind their back because it's uncomfortable on their neck, they probably do still need a booster. That third common scenario that can lead to seatbelt syndrome is riding with your vehicle seat too reclined. When you are laid back in a crash, everything travels toward the point of impact. So your body may slide under the seatbelt and then your head kind of comes up and goes forward and that seatbelt catches you by the abdomen. So do adjust your seat for comfort, but ride with it upright, not laid back. That information can actually be found in your vehicle owner's manual. So say no to seatbelt syndrome. Wear your seatbelt correctly as an adult and keep your child in a booster until they are at least 4'9" and pass the 5-step test for a safe seatbelt fit.